Alright guys, it's Caitlin here, your geeky girlfriend, and you know what that sound means. It's time for another Real Talk movie review in my Real Talk movie review series here on the channel. As always, if you like what you see, go ahead and give me a subscribe and give me a follow on Instagram as well at your geeky girlfriend. Like this video or don't like it, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, let me know what movie you want me to review next because I am always taking recommendations. So let's go ahead and get into today's video. Last week or a couple weeks ago, I posted a review of The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and I started the trilogy, and I recently uploaded the second part of this trilogy review, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. So if you have not watched that video yet, or you have not watched that movie yet, you need to stop this video and go watch that one because there are some spoilers ahead of movie number 2 and movie number 3. Today I'm going to be reviewing Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. By far the best movie in the trilogy, in my opinion. So let's talk about why. Now, compared to number 2, if you watch my review, number 2 is just kind of a dumpster fire. It just has so much going on. You can't stop watching because you want to know how the story plays out, but it's not really that interesting at the same time. There's like way too many storylines going on, and it's hard to keep them all straight, and you're just watching it like, why is this part even in the movie? Why are we watching this? What does this have to do with Frodo and the ring? Those are all great questions, and I don't really know the answer to very many of them. So if you have not yet watched Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, the film, or my review, if you don't really care about watching it and just want to hear what happens, go check out my review. In this video, we're going to be talking about the third installment of the franchise, The Return of the King, which was a much more pleasurable movie experience compared to number 2. So as always, let's go through our plot points, and I tried to, again, make it sort of a timeline, but it's hard. I just, there's, again, a lot going on in this film and a lot of storylines still out there, so it's hard to truly capture everything, so I just tried to put, some major things. So the whole point of this whole trilogy is that Frodo is transporting the ring, which is the Lord of all rings, and he is and this eye in the sky is watching him the whole time, and this is the eye of Sauron, or the Dark Lord, who forged the ring. And he is watching Frodo the whole time, and this is actually the eye of the ring. It sees everything. It's calling the ring back to it. So Frodo gets all these visions, and there's like a crystal ball thing involved in this film where other people can see. Like Aragorn uses it at one point, Gandalf uses it at one point, Pippin uses it at one point, and they you can embrace the power of the ring in this crystal ball. And so this eye kind of follows them throughout the trilogy, and it's in this film that we finally see the demise of it, or what happens to it. And the majority of this film takes place in Gondor. And I mentioned in my review of Lord of the Rings, The Twin Towers, that we have to remember that this is set in the medieval times in Middle Earth, with where only a couple of the tribes or a couple of the states are actually made of men. We have the hobbits, we have the elves, we have the Ents. A lot of the tribes in Middle Earth are not men. They're like medieval or mythical creatures. So this movie primarily takes place in Gondor, and this stone palace that you see is where the main battle in the film takes place. But there's also a whole nother part of Gondor that that is in the movie, and we have to remember too that when we think of these realms, like the Shire and Gondor and Isengard, these are like essentially the size of states as we would look at them today. So there's a lot of, it's not like just over the fence is like where the rest of the movie is taking place. Like it would take them probably a day by horseback or walking to get to the other side of the state. So we have to keep that in mind when you're thinking of the whole trilogy. At the end of this film, Frodo actually says that the whole trilogy spans over this time of 13 months. So all 3 movies take over a year to play out, which is crazy to me, because the movies make it seem like it all happens like within a couple of days. So that's really important to remember when you're talking about where all of these different battles and everything take place. So this movie is called The Return of the King because Aragorn, the character up in the top left of your screen, takes his place as the rightful heir, and he does return as a king and an heir. So he has the power to wield an army. I won't spoil that. And he gets this special sword. Won't spoil that either. But the whole movie is called The Return of the King because it's actually about Aragon stepping back into his leadership role. And Viggo Mortensen did a great job as Aragon, and he is a very encapsulating character. Then we are still following Frodo, Samwise Gamgee, and Gollum or Smeagol on their journey to Mordor. At the end of movie number 2, the people of Gondor try to take Gollum away from Frodo and Sam, but Frodo kind of fights for Gollum and says, no, he's our guide, he's taking us. And we see Gollum turn on the boys at the very, very end of movie number 2, where he decides he's going to let that alternative personality take over, the one that's controlled by the ring and the power of the ring. And he has decided that he wants to kill them. So for the first half of the movie, we see Gollum trying to lead Frodo and Sam into all these different traps and turn them on each other so that way he can kill them and take back the ring. So that's where Gollum's mind is heading, which if you were anything like us in movie number 2, you were really hoping that that was not the case. You wanted him to just be a good person and lead them to the destruction, but it just shows how powerful the ring really is. And Frodo deals with that a lot more in this film, and Frodo actually starts to kind of lose his mind a little bit. But Sam, in my opinion, Sam is the true hero of this film. He is sane. He does nothing but like protect Frodo and care for Frodo. He carries Frodo with his own bare hands, feeds him, gives him food. Like Sam is the true hero of this whole trilogy, because without Sam, this trilogy would never have happened. So Samwise Gamgee is for sure the hero of the trilogy, in my opinion. We can see a little snapshot here of the 4 hobbits kind of reuniting. So that's a positive thing that happens in this film. And then I threw her in here because her name is Arowena, and she's from Rohan, which I talked about Rohan a lot in my review of the second film. She kind of has a Mulan moment in this film, which I love, of course, but my husband felt it was like probably didn't need to happen. And he's probably right. Like it probably didn't, like it doesn't impact the story at all. But so why they put it in there, we'll never know. But she kind of has a little Mulan moment, which is great for female audiences to kind of see. But yeah, so there's a lot that happens in this film. This film is by far the most suspenseful and most enjoyable to watch because you truly like are on the edge of your seat and want to know what happens. We've got hobbits stepping into war in this film. We've got hobbits stepping into servitude at this film. We almost have like a live human sacrifice at this film a couple of times. And we see some great cinematic effects, great CGI, and a lot of great plot twists. So this movie is by far the most enjoyable to watch just in terms of pure cinematic enjoyment. Suspense, thrill, some plot twists, like I said. And overall, like, yes, there still is a war. Yes, there still is a battle. Yes, it still takes them a long time to gather up their troops and armies because they have to reconfigure their alliances and all of that stuff. But overall, the war and the fighting is limited in this film. So the pros are Aragon. Aragon is my favorite character in the trilogy. I have decided one, he's not bad to look at, so that's good. He's easy on the eyes. 2, he's a strong leader, is brave and courageous. And the only thing I don't like about him is this whole weird love triangle thing that he's got going on. He definitely is a little bit of a flirt, and Arowena kind of thinks that he likes her. But then he has to kind of let her down and be like, I can't give you what you want. And so that was kind of like, that was a little douchey. But, it is what it is. He's going to be a king soon, so it's fine. She ends up finding somebody else that does like her and gives her the time of day. And that actually is that is, like, able to be with her in a logical, mortal life. And then he has the elven woman, which I've mentioned in both of the video reviews so far. And so that kind of comes to an end as well. And you just kind of see him really stepping into his place and really taking a hold of his role as the king. As I said, it's the most suspenseful and genuinely engaging film in the trilogy. It's the easiest to watch. It does have a runtime of 4 hours and 23 minutes, but it doesn't feel that long when you're watching it. I felt like I was watching it for maybe just shy of 2.5 hours. that actually follows Frodo in the ring for the most part. You see a lot more of them than you did in movie number 2. They go into this cave, they go into this tunnel. They do finally make it to Mordor. They end up disguising themselves as orcs at one point. So the whole movie, we're finally following Frodo, which was a nice refresh after movie number 2. And then it has a happy ending, sort of, with a nice bow that ties up all of the storylines. The cons, Gollum and Smeagol. I was annoyed at Gollum in this film because I really had grown to be empathetic or sympathetic of him in movie number 2. And like I keep saying, I just really wanted him to end up like being a good guy and showing some growth. And like, I just really wanted him to let Frodo destroy the ring and be done with it. But sadly, that doesn't happen. And I can't say that Gollum's ending is the most happy. So watch the film to figure out that. In my opinion, there's still a lot of filler plot lines. Like, they focus a lot on, which I understand, like, there's a ritual. Everybody has, like, rituals for death, but they're going to war, and they just spend a lot of time, like, gawking over their dead people. And, like, there's this whole storyline in Gondor with this white tree that's, like, mentioned at the beginning and then never mentioned again. And just, like, random things. I thought the Army of the Dead, spoiler alert, was a nice touch. I liked that part of the film. But yeah, there was just a lot of like little things that I felt like did not need to happen. Like, for example, when Frodo and Sam disguise themselves as orcs, and like, it was like that was a 15-minute chunk of film that could have been taken out, in my opinion. Frodo's ending was a con. That was unexpected. And I'm not 100% sure why it has that ending, but I have a reasoning that I think sounds logical. And if you watch the film, you, I'm sure, have your own logical understanding of why Frodo has the ending that he has. But it is kind of sad, honestly. Like, Sam is his friend, and Sam has been his protector, and then Sam is just kind of left high and dry at the very end. But Sam has his own happy ending that, makes you hopeful. Overall, though, this film's premise, The Return of the King, is kind of predictable. I knew from the very first moment that I watched the Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, that Aragorn was going to end up being the king, like the long lost king. Like, I knew that from the beginning. So overall, the whole trilogy is a little bit predictable, but this film did have some plot twists that were really unexpected. So, all that being said, I give this movie a B plus. Little bit, like, I enjoyed it more than the first one, which I gave a B. So I enjoyed it more than the first one. I don't know if I would immediately, like, watch this film again. One, it is very, very long. Two, now that I know what happens, I don't know if I would find it as enjoyable. But as a first time movie experience, it was okay. I, like I said, liked it better than the first one. Definitely better than the second one. So I would maybe watch this film again. Maybe. Not anytime soon, though, because right now I'm kind of lauded out. So it'll be a while. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think of this film and the whole trilogy or the whole franchise. We are trying to decide if we should watch The Hobbit. So maybe give me your thoughts on that. If you've seen The Hobbit, we're trying to figure out if we want to watch that. We are like torn because like neither of us really like Bilbo, but we like Gollum. So it's like, do we watch it? Do we not? I don't know. Also, I meant to say too, in this film, The Return of the King, you get a lot more of Gollum's backstory, and it's kind of crazy, and it's kind of sad, kind of creepy. So that's, if you're into that and you like Gollum, then you might find that part of the film enjoyable as well. So like I said, thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know what you want me to review next. See you guys in the next one.